Once again, if you wish to address the council, please complete the public wish and address the council form on the counter there and give it to our council clerk. All public comments must be addressed to the council as a whole. Addressing individual council members or staff is not allowed. Speakers should be courteous in their choice of words or actions, and comments should be limited to the issue and cannot involve individuals or staff-related matters. All cell phones, pagers, and electronic devices used for communication should be silenced for the duration of the meeting. I'd like to call the meeting of the Terrebonne Parish Council Wednesday, September 28th to order. And Mr. Navy, could you lead us in a prayer followed by a pledge? You're on, Mr. Navy.
Oh, you asked me?
Dr. Navy.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't paying attention. Oh, thank you for this pleasure. It's my first time since this year I committed a pledge, a prayer. Heavenly Father, I come to you again tonight to ask you for your grace, blessings, and mercy. Protect the people of this residence. Protect the people that's going through the hurricane in Florida, Heavenly Father. It's all your will and your mercy, Heavenly Father. Thank you, Lord, for everything you've done for us and the people in the parish of Terrebonne. I ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call. Ms. Beckno?
Mr. Michaud?
Here.
Mr. Amity?
Here.
Ms. Domingue?
Here.
Mr. Darren Guidry?
Here.
Mr. Babin? Here. Mr. Dirk Guidry?
Here.
Mr. Trosclair?
Here.
Dr. Navy?
Here.
Mr. Harding?
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum present.
Thank you. In accordance with the American Disabilities Act, Mr. Michel will be attending the meeting via Zoom. 6 p.m. Council convenes as a board of review to consider written appeals to the tax assessments as presented by the Terrebonne Parish Assessor and to consider action on assessment rolls as presented by the Parish Assessor. Mr. Loney Grabert.
Hello, Loney Grabert, Terrebonne Parish Assessor. Thanks for having me here tonight. We have no appeals for 2022, but I'd like to tell y'all a little bit about what's going on with the tax roll for 22. As y'all know, last year I did a blanket approach reduction of 10% and 15%. This year, that 10 and 15 went back on the rolls. Basically, everybody's values went back up to what it was in 2020 prior to the storm hitting. So if you get any calls because taxes have went up, it's just because I didn't do a reappraisal. All I did was go back to what the value should have been prior to the storm hitting. We are still a little down on the tax roll, about $5.5 million from the 2020, what 2020 was. And most of that is just based on the way things are cycled out. Most of that loss is on inventory, machines, equipment, furniture, fixtures, and stuff like that. We do have a little loss on the land side, but not as much as we did the prior year. When tax bills goes out, I will be sending letters out again for those who are still still have construction going on to come in and see me so we can revalue those types of buildings. So.
Any questions? All right. Thank you, Mr. Grabert.
Thank you.
All right. Moving along, approved minutes of the regular council session held on August 24th, 2022. Moved Mr. Dirk Guidry, seconded by Ms. Domingue. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Approved minutes of the special session held on September 7th, 2022. Moved Mr. Carl Harding, seconded Ms. Domingue. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Distribute minutes of the regular council session held on September 14th, 2022, which we've done. Approve accounts payable bill list for September 19th, 2022, and September 26th, 2022, moved by Mr. Carl Harding.
Second.
Seconded Ms. Domingue. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Approve manual checklist, August 2022. Move Mr. Dirk Guidry, seconded Ms. Domingue. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. General business. A proclamation congratulating Terrebonne 200 Festival artist Miss Celeste Baudouin. Mr. Amady.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's my pleasure to read this proclamation. Whereas the Terrebonne Bicentennial Celebration Committee began work on a celebration of Terrebonne's 200th anniversary over 2 years ago, and whereas the committee has developed a series of programs and activities which are designed to educate the public of interesting facts regarding our history in order to prepare our citizens for the next 200 years, and whereas Terrebonne Parish is known for many things, such as great food, superior fishing and hunting opportunities, and celebrations such as Mardi Gras and festivals, locals know that the best aspect of Terrebonne Parish is the people who populate our community, their love for the land, and their respect for one another. And whereas on Saturday, October 15th, 2022, a parade and festival will occur to help celebrate the bicentennial of Terrebonne Parish. And whereas a contest for the artwork for a poster to help commemorate the bicentennial festival was held, and whereas Ms. Celeste Baudouin was the chosen winner of the Terrebonne 200 poster, now therefore be it resolved that the Terrebonne Parish Council, on behalf of the parish president and the entire Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government, that the extraordinary service and artistic talent of Ms. Celeste Baudouin be recognized, and to thank her for her dedication and service to the parish of Terrebonne during its bicentennial celebration. It's signed by Terrebonne Parish President Gordon E. Dove, Council Chairman Darren Guidry Sr., and on behalf of the whole council and parish government.
Hope you guys can fit this check in your car. I have a smaller check to present to you as well that might fit in your pocket. Chris Pulaski, I'm speaking to you as chairman of the Bicentennial Festival and Planning Committee, and I just wanted to give a brief summary. So when we started planning this thing, of course, a festival, we got to have a poster. So we partnered up with the Bayou Regional Arts Council, and they were gracious enough to put the call out to the artists. So we had a lot of submittals, and they were all great. But the Celeste artwork was the one that was selected, so it's worked out really well. And we'll have 200 of those posters available for the public to purchase at this festival on Saturday, October 15th, and Celeste will even be there to sign them and make them even more valuable. So. Thank you, Celeste.
Thank you. I just want to tell everybody thank you for the opportunity and getting to do this.
Thank you.
Hold on, Miss Celeste, we have a light. Ms. Domingue.
Yeah, thanks and congratulations. Can we see the poster? Sure. Oh, it is very beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And the name of the artwork?
It's Southern Golden Hour.
Great job.
Good job.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. You might have more? No. That's it? Okay. One more picture.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll put this one out.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Next is a proclamation proclaiming the month of October 2022 as a Chafalaya National Heritage Area Month. Mr. Babin.
Yes, it's a pleasure to read this proclamation. Whereas the Atchafalaya National Heritage Area, created by Public Law number 109-338, subsection B, is one of 49 nationally distinctive heritage areas designated by the United States Congress. And whereas the Atchafalaya National Heritage Area contains the Atchafalaya Basin, the largest river swamp in America, and is promoted as America's foreign country. And whereas the Atchafalaya National Heritage Area encompasses 14 parishes, including Terrebonne Parish, reflecting the unique culture and history evolving from life in and around the Atchafalaya Basin. And whereas the Atchafalaya Basin is considered the most productive swamp in the world and contributes substantially to the economy of Louisiana, and whereas the Atchafalaya Basin and the parishes within the heritage area house important wetlands that serve as buffers during storm surges, and whereas the Atchafalaya National Heritage Area offers exceptional opportunities for education, recreation, and tourism, so important to the economies of the state and to heritage area parishes, for which information on all these opportunities can be found at www.atchafalaya.org. And whereas the Office of Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungasser, the Louisiana Department of Culture, Recreation, and Tourism, and the commissioners of the Atchafalaya National Heritage Area encourage and promote recreational, educational, and visitor activities during the month of October to raise awareness of the valuable resources, unique culture, and recreational opportunities located within the heritage area. And whereas Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungasser has duly proclaimed October 2022 as Atchafalaya Month in the state of Louisiana, now therefore be it resolved that Terrebonne Parish Council, on behalf of the Terrebonne Parish government, hereby joins with Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungasser and the Atchafalaya Trace Commission in designating the month of October 2022 as Atchafalaya National Heritage Area Month, and encourages the citizens of Terrebonne Parish to take time during the month to visit points of interest in the Atchafalaya National Heritage Area and its basin, and to become more familiar with the truly national treasure. Signed by President Dove and Chairman Guidry and endorsed by the entire council. Mort, you gonna? Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Well, Mr. Chairman, just very briefly, thank you very much for this proclamation. As you know, I'm Terrebonne's representative on the Atchafalaya Trace Commission, and it's been a wonderful privilege for me to do that, and I look forward to doing it at least one more year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Black. Next, a proclamation proclaiming the month of October 2022 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and the day of October 27th, 2022 as Paint the Parish Purple Day in Terrebonne Parish. Ms. Domingue.
Yes, thank you, and it's my honor to read this proclamation today. Whereas a woman is beaten every 9 seconds in the United States, and whereas 1 in every 4 women and 1 in every 7 men have been severely physically abused by an intimate partner, and 1 in 15 children are exposed to domestic violence each year, and 90% of these children are eyewitnesses to the violence. And whereas Louisiana ranked 5th in the homicide rate among female victims killed by their male offenders and single victim, single offender incidences in 2019, and over 5,000 adult women per year living in Louisiana will experience domestic violence. And whereas the Haven provided a safe home for 73 children and 83 women fleeing domestic violence, and answered 1,165 domestic violence and sexual assault crisis calls, and assisted 82 domestic violence survivors in filling temporary restraining orders in 2021. And whereas the problem of domestic violence is not confined to any group or groups of people, but crosses all economic, racial, gender, educational, religious, and societal barriers. It's sustained by societal indifferences and devastating to society as a whole. And whereas victims should have support to find the compassion, comfort, and healing they need, and domestic abusers should be punished to the full extent of the law, while important partnerships have been formed among criminal justice agencies, allied professionals, and victim services to assist victims of domestic violence and their families. And whereas it is important to recognize the compassion and dedication of the individuals who provided services to victims of domestic violence and work to increase public awareness of domestic violence and its prevalence and to eliminate it through prevention and education. And whereas our parish has a moral obligation to work to prevent domestic violence, to address its brutal and destructive effects, and to make ending domestic violence a priority. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Terrebonne Parish Council, on behalf of the parish president and the entire Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government, hereby proclaim that the month of October 2022 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And be it further resolved that Thursday, October 13th, 2022 be proclaimed as Paint the Parish Purple Day, and that all citizens be urged to wear purple to show their support in the work and in domestic violence, to speak out against domestic violence, and to support these local efforts to assist victims of these crimes in finding the help and healing that they need. And this is signed by Parish President Dove, Council Chairman Darren Guidry, and endorsed by the entire Parish Council.
Do we have anybody to accept this? Just go ahead and state your name and,
Melissa Williams. I am the training coordinator for the Haven.
if you don't mind pulling the mic down. There you go. So we can hear
Sure.
you. Okay.
My name is Melissa Williams. I am the training coordinator for the Haven. And on behalf of the Haven, I just want to say thank you for raising awareness around domestic violence and issuing this proclamation. We are really encouraging the citizens of Terrebonne Parish to come out to our candlelight visual on October the 27th as we look to ways to break the cycle of violence. One of those ways is to raise awareness. Another one of those ways is to gain education and to understand what survivors need, and also to be a support to survivors. So we are really encouraging people throughout the whole month to find ways to do that, to break the cycle, but also to come out to our candlelight visual on October 27th at the Courthouse Square, and to also paint the town purple on that day to show survivors that we stand with you in solidarity, and we are here to help end the cycle of domestic violence. So thank you.
Hang on, we have a few lights, Ms. Domingue.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you so much, Melissa, and you guys do such an amazing job with all of your clients and things like that. And we know that there has been an increase in family violence, especially since the pandemic and the added stressor of Hurricane Ida. And so, you guys are a valuable asset to the community, and we work together in a professional capacity as well. And so, once again, thanks for everything you do. Not only do you provide services for survivors, you also provide educational opportunities for professionals as well. And so,
Yes.
I've been to several of you guys' trainings. And so, just thank you, and continue to keep up the good work.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Dr. Navy.
Yes, I echo with Miss
Domingue?
Domingue. Domingue just said, I had a brain freeze right there. You all have a wonderful team with the Haven, and you have done wonderful work with this parish. And I really got to, give y'all thanks for the things that you have done. especially for the women in this parish. I had the pleasure to work with your director. I don't know if you want me to call him Mr. Planners or Ms. Pellegrin for, I don't know, maybe 12 years, 15 years, something like that with mental health. And I can tell you, I know how she's really diligent, involved with this process, and she loved this work, and she put together an extraordinary team. So look, I praise you all. Thank you all for what y'all doing with the women of this parish. Thanks you a lot.
Thank you, Ms. Melissa.
Thank you.
Moving along, presentation by parish administration relative to capital projects, including drainage, utility, road, and quality of life projects, as well as other matters relative to the operations and maintenance of parish government. Mr. Dove.
Yes, and I just want to go ahead and put this up here. You know, we get a lot of calls on state highways, so I wanted to show the public how many state highways that we have in Terrebonne Parish, and it's quite a bit. And you, of course, you're always welcome to call myself or anyone up here on any problems on state highways. But you know, the state of Louisiana takes care of the state highways, the state right-of-ways, the state ditches. So it's you know, I wanted to bring to the attention of the public, if it's got a LA in front of it, as you can see how many state highways there are. And as you can see, LA 20, 24, LA 55, 56, 57, 58, 90, 182, 309, 311, 660, 659, 648, 316, 315, 661, 664, 665, 3040, 3087. Wait, I can't see right. And 3185. Just to show you, if it's got an LA on the road that is a state highway, and look, our delegation does a wonderful job of getting them on top of this. The state of Louisiana is short of people, like everyone else, and they're doing their best to get to these roads and these. You know, if it's asphalt or is it or if it's ditch maintenance or is it concrete. So, and like I said, our delegation does a great job of pushing these guys, and the state is short of people. I've talked to the state, but we are trying to get these state highways and right-of-ways and everything done. But there is a number, 985-858-2401, or you can contact anyone up here. I'm sure anyone up here will take your call. But, you know, we do not cut and maintain state highways. We just don't have the budget. Now, we have on occasion gone out there and taken care of problems. And so, you know, with that, I just wanted to give the public the insight that if it has LA in front of it, a highway, that is the state of Louisiana. That's not the parish of Terrebonne, but we will try to get anything done at anyone's request. Also,
now, Mr. Dove.
Yeah.
Did you want to ask him a question on the highways before we move on? Do you have anything else on the highway? She wants to ask you Ms. Domain wants to ask a question about the highways.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hold on. Go ahead, Ms. Domain.
Thank you, Mr. Dove. And I know that we did do some work to be able to take care of some of the highways. We can't take care of all of them right now, but that's some things that we had approved in the past few months. And I just want to give kudos to the parish for going ahead and maintaining a tunnel, because they did a really, really good job of cutting it and keeping it really clean. And so I had a lot of people thank us. And so I just want to thank you, Mr. Dove, for getting that done.
Well, and you know, and I didn't want to go into all the detail, but I'm glad you did. You know, the neutral grounds on Tunnel Boulevard, I do know this council passed it, and we are taking care of it, and we worked it out with the state. We're also cleaning like the overpasses, the Shreve overpass and the Twin Span and Prospect Street overpass so there is some stuff we do, but the majority of it is done by the state. Great point.
And I have one more point, Mr. Dove, and it wasn't in your presentation, but the actual tunnel is not for the parish, that's the state as well. And
yes,
so when people complain about how scary it is to go through the tunnel, or you know, why is it in such bad shape, it's not that it's being neglected by the parish, it's the state being neglected.
It is the state, yes, ma'am.
And I know, Mr. Dove, thank you for bringing this up. because, a lot of times we don't refer to them as numbers. We just refer to them as Van Avenue or Howard Avenue. One thing I don't see is Lafayette in the list, but Lafayette Street is also a state
That's
highway.
correct.
And
That's
I'm trying
correct.
to think, I don't know what the number is, but, we call it Lafayette Street. But it does have a number and designation, and it is a state highway. And so, if the signs exist after the storm, you'll know which ones, but if not, this is a very good reference list. Thank you very, very much. You can continue, Mr. Dove.
Okay, thank you. Now, also, I'm trying to bring the public up to date. We are installing. This council approved a 24 megawatt temporary power plant on Barrow Street. It is coming along. I'm gonna. With the cost of it and the importance of it, we'll bring it up every so often, but just let the public know it is moving along. There's some pictures of it, and it's detrimental to Terrebonne Parish, because when the demand is called by MISO and we do not have the demand call, they will go on what they call rolling brownouts. Rolling brownouts is we have 9 substations, and they will require us to cut each substation off for 15 minutes, which is an hour and a half, and very inconvenient to the citizens. So that's one of the reasons we're putting it in here, and also to regulate our voltage until we can rebuild a new power plant, which is going to take some time. So this is it's moving along good. Ernie Brown and his group are working with it. We have the engineers involved with it, GIS, Royal, and other engineering firms, and they're moving very, very expeditiously. And, we hope to have it online here in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dove. And
You got a question?
Mr. Michel has a question. Go ahead, Mr. Michel.
Yeah, of course, we ran this $20 million a year project through, and it is what it is. But my question is much simpler. How is the lighting coming along, the street lights coming along, as far as repairs are concerned? Because it seems to me, after talking to Entergy, that it seems like the parish is the holdup on getting these lights done. And I don't see any reason to wait for FEMA, since we didn't wait for FEMA for the $20 million a year project. So can we get this lighting, the street lighting problem resolved for the people in the parish so they can have safer neighborhoods?
Mr. Dove, go ahead.
First of all, Michelle, you are 100% wrong. We are working with FEMA on a so-called $20 million a year project, and it is moving. FEMA is aware of what we're doing. We're not moving along without them. This is a process on these lights. We are repairing some of the lights. We have to go through a procedure. Now, I'm explaining this to you. We have a procedure so we can get reimbursed. We have a lot of lights to replace in Terrebonne Parish, and we are moving expeditiously on it. So we do have to wait on FEMA. We do have to run everything through FEMA, because somebody's got to pay for this.
Yeah, and I've also been in contact with Mr. Ernest Brown and our utilities, and we're waiting on the report to come in on the standard street lighting. Hold on, Mr. Toops, do you have something to add?
Yes, sir. We received a 770-page report from YKH Consulting, and we will be going out for bid on both the decorative lights and the non-decorative lights before the end of October. So both of them will be out for bid, and that's the repairs on both the decorative lights and the regular creosote poles that we have to repair within the city. And further to President Dove's comments about the state highways, Lafayette Street is LA 312.
LA 312.
312. But we are going out for bid before the end of October on both of them.
How long do they expect the bid process to take before we get a vendor?
We expect the total project to take about 9 months after we go out for bids, by the time everything's finished.
Okay, well, I do appreciate the honest and useful information. It's good to hear. Thank you.
Now, Mr. Toops, this is the city service.
Decorative lights are throughout the parish. The non-decorative lights are within the city.
And I spoke to Ms. Rome with Entergy, who's putting together the standard light poles, which is, not part of this. And she's going to try to put together a meeting with all of us so we can sort out the poles that Entergy says we're not going to maintain and such. And she's supposed to be in contact. I spoke with her. I don't know. I'm sure you've been in touch with Ms. Rome as well.
I will follow up on that.
We have some more lights. You want one other comment, Mr. Michaud?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It was my understanding that even outside the city, in the parish, that Entergy's responsibility is to get power to the lines that feed the poles and to take care of the bulbs. But everything in between, as far as the fixtures, was the parish responsibility. They told me that point blank, and I've heard people say everything both ways. And we need to clarify that because that is not my understanding that they just are responsible for the decorative poles, and because that's because Entergy told me point blank that the parish is responsible for the poles. They just have to get power to them, and of course they have to replace the bulbs. And of course they're not going to replace the bulbs if the poles are not operable.
And of course, our discussion with Entergy was, if we're going to send out somebody like YK to go do an assessment on street light poles, not the ones we did with the decorative, but the street light poles, we don't even know the streets that have them, that don't. So, I'm saying, Entergy, can you get with us? Because I have a lot of those in my district. And so, I've been trying to get them repaired, but which ones in the parish have them? Can they give us a list of the ones that don't work? So it is being worked on, but we're at least 10 steps ahead as far as getting the city service. But we're relying on Entergy to get Entergy's done. But I've been in contact with them. They're trying to get mine, and I know you have a lot of Entergy poles in your district as well. So.
Okay.
I don't have an answer, but, Ms. Rome is working on it, and she says she will come to the council, so.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Trosclair.
Yes, thank you. Mike, do you or does anybody have an estimated number of light fixtures? I've heard the number 300 and something thrown around that are suspected or need to be repaired and damaged.
You talking about decorative, Mr.
Decorative
Trosclair?
poles.
The number is 360.
360, and that is just decorative poles?
Correct.
And that's throughout the parish?
Throughout the parish, including all of the lights along St. Charles Street, which is a good portion of those lights.
That's including lights that are not working for any reason, poles that are twisted and turned or leaning or whatever?
Everything. Poles that are non-existent, that got knocked down and we removed, poles that are leaning, poles that are broken, poles that are just the bulbs are burnt, poles that the lens are not knocked down. Anything that was damaged by Hurricane Ida is included in this report.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Babin.
Yeah, I spoke to Ms. Rome today, and I was a little bit taken back because the area was naturally Entergy, and she told me any decorative, because Entergy had gone out to this particular location, and they said it was a parish responsibility. She told me today that any decorative lighting, aluminum poles, or fiberglass poles are the responsibility of the parish. And I don't know. I don't have any Entergy customers, but I happened to talk to Ms. Rome today, and that's what she said. And sometimes, and no disrespect to Ms. Rome, sometimes it seems like we've been hearing a lot of things here, and it's been pointing in every other direction. So, again, I didn't think that because it's a metal pole and Entergy services it, that it's the parish's responsibility. And it may be, but it took me by surprise. So if we could check on that, I think it would help. Maybe Mr. Brown could have answered it, but I mean, he's not here, which is okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Babin. Hold on, Mr. Michel. Mr. Dove?
Yes, and as far as I can appreciate it, I will get with on aluminum poles, as that's the first time I heard. We are responsible for all decorative poles, which we go into FEMA for payments. All lighting, if it's an energy pole, they're responsible for the lighting. If it is a home or utilities pole, we're responsible. If it is a sleeker pole, they're responsible. No matter what anyone's saying, that is what it is. Now, I will get with Paula because she definitely knows what she's doing. But the decorative lights, she's correct, is ours. In the aluminum poles or fiberglass poles, I haven't been asked that, so I don't know the answer to that. But I will find out.
Okay, Mr. Michel.
No, I'm good. I was going to mention that because if we were convinced that the aluminum poles were Entergy's responsibility, then we maybe need to get legal to look at the contract that we have with them and see. But if Mr. Dove's going to ask Paula, and I think he's going to find out that the aluminum poles are our responsibility, and that's all we have. I think pretty much in my district is aluminum poles. So that's why my concern is growing every day. And so if that's the case, is what Mr. Toops talked about earlier, does that include those aluminum poles?
And it does not include the aluminum, the fiberglass poles in Entergy's service area. Because I'm trying to get a list of the ones in my district that aren't working from Entergy so I can get it to the city. And, Entergy's the only utility, well, again, they're not here, but Ms. Rome says she's going to come. Mr. Babin?
Yeah, to your point, Mr. Dove, that was the first time I ever heard today about aluminum poles and fiberglass poles that Entergy sent the power to, that it was our responsibility. That just doesn't sound right to me, okay? So I'm glad you're going to look into it, because we, for too long, we've been getting conflicting signals, and then it just makes it look bad with the community. So I hope we can clear this all up. Thank you.
Okay,
Just
one
a
last
final
thing.
comment.
Go ahead, Mr. Mr.
Yeah, just a final comment.
Michel.
Over the last 7 years, the parish has come out and taken care of problems that did not involve the lighting and that did not involve the feed. They've come out several times in District 3 and addressed those needs. So that's why it did make sense to me. But anyway, I'm glad that President Dev's going to check, and thank you all very much.
Dr. Navy?
Just a quick question. What process are we using to keep up with who poles are for who? And the reason why I'm asking that question, because in my district, I had 3 utility companies. And on one street, one side is this utility company, the other side of the street, that utility company, City Home Energy. How are we keeping up? Do we have a process, or do the utility companies have a process to know who poles or belongs to who?
To answer your question, it's very difficult because the way the parish is wired, and some poles on one side of the street are for Entergy, some poles on the other side of the street for us. Same thing with Sleeka and Entergy. But what I would propose to offer is maybe we should go to the Public Service Commissioner and ask them to give us the guidelines on what is the service company's responsibilities and what's the parish's. Because I think Entergy is going to, if they give us an answer, it's going to be maybe slanted toward Entergy. But I think if we get something in writing from the Public Service Commissioner's office, we can get a definitive answer on where Entergy stops and where we take over. That may be a more definitive way to get a proper answer.
I agree with you totally, Mr. Toots, because, that's a confusing process. And even, I agree with the council, trying to explain that to the residents, that is more confusing. And that's conflicting, I agree that's conflicting out there, but this is not something that the parish has implemented, so it's not our fault, to be honest with you. I do believe that the utility company should have came up with a process themselves to have something tangible to say, this street, these are our poles, blah, blah, this and that, or a map or something, a diagram or something geographically to describe that. We don't have that, and that's where the confusion comes to us. Because when residents call us, not because of the parish government, because the utility company, I don't even know what to say, because I don't know who poles belong to what. I'm going by what someone is actually saying, but it's not in writing. It's not where we can actually see it or touch or feel it. So I agree with you what you're saying. We do need that. Please do that. Please.
And I think that our GIS department and utilities would have a listing of which poles are ours. So I can double check with them. That's another possible source.
Thank you. Appreciate you on that.
Mr. Harding.
Yes, and I think maybe Ms. Rome can come back here because I had some lights out and they pull it up on the maps. It's just a simple thing. It's color coding. And I had a problem with a decorative light. And it seems to me, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, is the fact that if we want a United States flag representing all the lights in Terrebonne Parish, that is the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government's choice. Entity's job is to supply the utilities to it, the electrical work to it. So once we plug into there, I think energy, from what I got out of this, energy is charging up to this point. If our choice is to have whether it's decorative lights or aluminum lights, you know what I mean, then it'd be our responsibility so far as that. So I think the concern is that if there's a power situation, then we can actually deal with energy in those circumstances. But if it's a structural thing in reference to the pole and everything else that goes along with it, I think that we would receive responsibility for that. So maybe that's what has to be explained to us more clearly, because energy, they're collecting the money for the utilities. You follow what I'm saying? So maybe look back in our contracts and see that we took the responsibility of the maintenance of the poles. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Toops, this is obviously the second time it's come up at our council meeting. Could you invite Ms. Rome to our next meeting? Because, you know, it goes even a little farther than what Mr. Harding said. It's not just the lights, it's even the underground wiring that they're saying we're responsible for. So it goes beyond that. So if you could please invite her to our next meeting, we'll put it on the agenda.
Yeah, and what I was going to say is I understand that anything that's underground wiring is our responsibility. I think the break point is energy brings the electricity to the pole, and then from the pole, it's our responsibility, unless it's underground wiring, and then we're responsible for the wiring pulls. If there's any shorts underground, we are responsible for those poles.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Toops. Okay. Anything else, Mr. Duff? That's it? Anything else? Okay. Moving along, introduce an ordinance authorizing TPCG to enter into an agreement for Leveron Street Park and call a public hearing on Wednesday, October 12th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. Mr. Harding.
Yes, I'd like to move that we amend the motion to associate backup replacement of Leveron Street Park with Charleston P. Roseanne Park, formerly known Leveron Street Park, to reflect the legal name of the park.
Mr. Hebert, do you have any issues with that?
I do not have any problem with that. Just change the name, do not have a problem.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Harding, seconded by Mr. Amity. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Thanks, Mr. Harding. Next is introduce an ordinance authorizing TPCG to acquire property for the said park and call a public hearing on Wednesday, October 12th at 6:30 p.m. Mr. Harding?
Again, like the previous motion, I would like to amend the motion to associate the backup with the replacement of Leveron Street Park with Charleston P. Roseanne Park, formerly known as Leveron Street Park, to reflect the legal name of the park.
Motion by Mr. Harding, seconded by Mr. Dirk Guidry. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Oh, wait, discussion? Okay. Any opposed? Motion passes. Go ahead, Mr. Duff.
Yeah, I just want to announce to the public that we've been working with Dixie Rice, the owners, and they are going to donate Leveron Street Park to the parish, so we will own it. In the past, we've always had a lease agreement, and the owners were cordial enough, and so that's what we entered into an agreement with to and we will actually own the property. So we actually did this when we were trying to do the right-of-ways for that pump, retention that we built by Popeyes, and all the culverts that's going all the way to 311 to help Leveron, Naka, and Columbus drain a lot better on Tunnel Boulevard, and we were able to get this donated to Terrebonne, so it's going to be a good addition to the land that is actually owned by Terrebonne Parish. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dove. Next item G is a possible add-on, which is a resolution to authorize the parish president to opt in to GOSEP programs for expedited temporary housing assistance in accordance with Louisiana Revised Statute 29:726F3B, Roman numeral 3, AA, and F4, and to submit an expedited temporary housing assistance waiver of land use permitting form to GOSEP as necessary to certify and qualify for participation in the programs. Do we have a motion to add on?
Second.
Motion to add on by Mr. Dirk Guidry, seconded by Ms. Jessica Domingue. Do we have anybody who wishes to speak of whether we should add it on or about this item? Public once, public twice, third time public?
Second.
Motion to close by Mr. Dirk Guidry, seconded by Ms. Jessica Domingue. All in favor say aye. Aye. We have a motion on the floor to add on. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion is added on. Do we have a motion to adopt the resolution? Motion to adopt, Mr. Dirk Guidry, seconded Ms. Jessica Domingue. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution is adopted. Moving on to staff's reports, presentation of the proposed 2023 parish budget and 5-year capital outlay budget by the parish president. Here, budget message. Is that coming from you, Ms. Candace? Mr. Dove.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is my honor and pleasure to respectfully submit our proposals for the 2023 Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government financial budget for your review. The financial budget totals $247.7 million and contains $18.8 million in operating capital and 5-year capital outlay. For comparison, the original 2022 adopted budget totaled $239 million, with $21.6 million in operating capital and capital outlay. During 2022, the parish has continued to recover from the catastrophic disaster of Hurricane Ida on August 29, 2021. Administration is actively pursuing various funding sources to assist in the recovery process and will continue to do so until all needs are met. The resilience and tenacity of our employees and citizens will prevail, and we will continue to recover and accomplish great things for the citizens of Terrebonne Parish. I believe the employees of the parish are our greatest asset. They should be rewarded for their hard work and dedication, and especially during the hurricane and after the hurricane. Therefore, I am proposing a 2% cost of living compensation increase for all Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government employees under the direction of the parish president. During 2022, we were able to add additional funding to existing projects, including CDBG East Side Police Substation, Bayou Terrebonne vegetation and debris removal, West Side area drainage, Bayou LaCorp drainage, Bayou Black pump station, Bayou Terrebonne pump station, road overlay projects, Public Works Administration building, Bayou Country Sportsplex. For 2023, we are proposing drainage projects, $3.7 million, quality of life projects, $1.1 million, road and bridges, 1.7, public safety, 0.6, economic development, 0.7, utility system, 2.5, sewage system, 3.3. I am pleased to submit this balanced budget that was accomplished with the support of each department. We continue to be vigilant in our spending practice, monitor economic indicators, and take decisive action when warranted. Because of these united practices, we are able to accomplish some great things and provide great service to our residents. In closing, I would like to thank the Terrebonne Parish Council, my administration, and the employees of the parish government for their focus and dedication towards achieving goals, and also Candace Malden, the CFO, and her team that put this together, and also all the department heads that worked diligently on this hurricane recovery. I would also like to thank the residents of our community. It's an honor and pleasure to serve you as your parish president. Thank you. Gordon Dove.
Thank you, Mr. Dove. Item B, consider the introduction of the 2023 proposed budget, ordering the publication of a summary of same as per Section 5-02 of the Home Rule Charter, referring the proposed budget to the Budget and Finance Committee for review, and calling a public hearing on Wednesday, October 12, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. Move Mr. Dirk Gidry, second Ms. Jessica Doming. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Next item, public wishing to address the council. As per speaker cards, in accordance with Section 2-07E of the Terrebonne Parish Home Rule Charter, the public will be heard and can speak for 3 minutes on any matter related to parish government without discussion or questions and answers on non-agenda items. We have one speaker card. Judge Steve Miller is here to discuss the First Circuit Court of Appeals.
Good evening, and thank you to the council, staff, and President Dove. My name is Steve Miller. I'm a state district court judge, and I'm running for the First Circuit Court of Appeal. I grew up in Lockport in Lafourche Parish. I'm 55 years old. I'm one of 7 kids. I think that matters to a lot of people, how big your family was. My parents, Sid and Joyce Miller, are both school teachers. They primarily taught in Lafourche Parish. My dad did teach at Vanderbilt for a while. And my mom later in her career became a nurse and served in that field. 55 years ago, expectant mothers in Lockport would go to Terrebonne General when they were ready to deliver, and that's what my mother did. So actually the first breath I took was the air over the good earth. So if anyone says that I'm not local, I'd ask that you please correct them. Sorry, I have a cold today. I graduated from Central Lafourche in 1985. I worked hard to get an academic scholarship. Through school, I worked in the shipyards and the plants, and after graduating from LSU, I graduated from Tulane Law School. After law school, I wanted back in the bayou. I didn't have any family members that were attorneys, so I hung a shingle, and I began practice in Thibodeau. For a while, I was with the Public Defender's Office, then I joined the District Attorney's Office, and for 12 years, I was a felony prosecutor in Lafourche Parish. I tried a lot of jury trials. I prosecuted drug dealers, rapists, and robbers, and all forms of violent criminals. In 2014, I ran for a seat on the district court bench. I was elected and given the opportunity to serve as a Louisiana State trial court judge. I've handled civil matters, thousands of criminal cases, family law matters, juvenile court, child support, and I'm the drug court judge in Lafourche Parish. And I also started the Family Preservation Court. I work hard every day to treat all litigants fairly and with respect. I recognize my responsibility to respect the rights of criminal defendants, but I also am aware of the rights guaranteed to victims in our Louisiana Constitution. I recognize my sworn duty to apply the law as I find it, not as I want it to be, and to do otherwise would be judicial activism. It is not acceptable. At the beginning of July, Judge Vanessa Whipple announced that she would not seek re-election to this seat in the First Circuit that she had held for 30 years.
Point of order.
Mr. Guidry?
I didn't think anybody could come to the podium and do any political things. Nothing against you, Judge, but I think it's against our protocol to campaign at the podium.
Well, I apologize. I called in advance to say I was going to introduce myself.
But yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
If not, we'd have every politician from all over.
I was unaware of that. I apologize.
Yeah. No problem, Judge.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you all.
But thank you for coming. All right, moving along. 6:30, public hearings relative to an ordinance to amend the 2022 adopted operating budget, 5-year capital outlay budget, and budgeted positions of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government with the following items and to provide for related matters. 1, roads and bridges, $650,000. 2, 5% budget adjustment for road lighting, District 3A, $47,539. 3, road lighting, District 6, $25,000. 4, criminal court fund, $350,000. 5, marshals fund, $65,000. 6, Bayou Country Sports Park, $1,350,000. 7, Brady Road Bridge, $1.5 million. 8, Bayou Terrebonne Vegetation and Debris Removal, $1,602,600. 9, General Fund, $129,594. 10, General Fund Donation, $2,500. West Side Alma Drainage, Alma Street, $620,000 credit. 12, Section 8 voucher, $50,000. 13 is a FEMA emergency food shelter, $894. 14 is a reclass several CDBG projects, $656,210. The next one is Information Technology Department budget position adjustments, $3,137. The next is the Accounting Department budgeted positions adjustment, a credit of $11,530. Public once, public twice, third time public.
Motion to close.
Motion to close, Mr. Dirk Gidry, seconded by Ms. Jessica Domingue. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion to adopt, Mr. Dirk Gidry, seconded by Ms. Jessica Domingue. Any discussions? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Ordinance is adopted. Item B, an ordinance to amend the 2022 adopted operating budget and 5-year capital outlay budget of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government for the following items and to provide for related matters. American Rescue Plan, $11,457,367. Public once. Public twice. Third time public. Motion to close, Mrs. Dirk Gidry. Second, Ms. Jessica Domingue. All in favor say aye. Motion to adopt, Mrs. Dirk Gidry. Second, Ms. Jessica Domingue. Any discussion? Mr. Michel.
I would just like someone to kind of explain this $11 million American Rescue Plan money and where it's going and what we're doing with it.
Ms. Malden?
Yes, sir. So when the final ruling came out on the American Rescue Plan earlier 2022, it was probably April time period, they actually allow us to calculate the lost revenue a little bit different than what they had initially done. So we are able to include the lost revenue that we had in our utilities department from 2019 to 2020. So we're able to add some more funding into other governmental services. So we are putting some money towards the road overlay projects. So we're putting $1.5 million additional into some road projects. We're putting some money into the utilities department as well as public safety. And we're also adding an additional $3 million to our low-income housing projects that are happening in the Housing and Human Services Department.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Candace.
Any more discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Ordinance is adopted. Item C, an ordinance to certify and approve an ad valorem tax exemption on machinery, equipment, and other capital projects to be assessed at 301 Bollinger Lane, Houma, Louisiana, for Bollinger Houma Shipyards, LLC, application number 202-10244-ITE. Public once. Public twice. Third time public.
Motion to close.
Motion to close by Mr. Gerald Michel, seconded by Ms. Domingue. All in favor say aye.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Mr. Michel, seconded by Ms. Domingue. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Ordinance is adopted. Committee reports, Public Service Committee, Mr. John Amity.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Public Services Committee held on September 12, 2022, and I have no public hearings.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Amity, seconded by Mr. Trosclair. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item B, Budget and Finance Committee, Mr. Harding.
Yes, I make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Budget and Finance Committee held on September 26, 2022, and I have two public hearings. The first one is introducing the ordinance to amend the 2022 adopted operating budget 5-year capital outlay budget and budgeted position of Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government for the following items and to provide for a related matters. Capital project control, $45,000, Val High Boulevard multi-use sidewalk, $68,689. Civic Center, $3,000. Transit, $6,325, and that's to add 2 part-time fleet attendants, grade 101, and call for a public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, October 12th at 6:30 p.m. The second one is to introduce the ordinance to enter into an active exchange with JMB Partnership LLC, including Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government's abandonment and servitude in favor of JMB and JMB's transfer of property to Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government for access Bayou Grand Caillou JMB's transfer of property in fee titles to Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government with a levee and a drainage ditch. The maintenance and the preservation of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government servitude and the TMBS acknowledgement of Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government servitude on the property, and call for a public hearing on Wednesday, October 12th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m.
Motion, Mr. Harding. Second, Mr. Amity. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 5, street lights. Lights installations, removals, and/or activations. No action needed because there's no street lights on it. Appointments to various boards, committees, and commissions. Recreation District Number 11 Board, 1 vacancy due to resignation. Reverend Dr. Vincent Fuselier Sr. submits application and resume for consideration.
Motion to open, close, and appoint Mr. Reverend Dr. Vincent Fuselier Sr.
Motion to open, close, and appoint Reverend Dr. Vincent Fuselier Sr. by Mr. Carl Harding.
Second.
Seconded, Ms. Domingue. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item B, Coastal Zone Management, 4 expiring terms on October 31st, 2022. Mr. Mickey Thomas expresses his interest in being reappointed, as does Mr. Jan Rogers.
Open, close, and appoint Mr. Thomas, Mr. Rogers, and hold the other 2 over. Second.
Motion by Mr. Babin to open, close, and appoint Mr. Thomas and Mr. Rogers and hold over the other 2, and seconded by Mr. Dirk Guidry. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? 7, vacancies to various boards, committees, and commissions coming up. We have Recreation District Number 2-3, 1 vacancy due to a resignation. The Homa Board of Zoning Adjustments, 1 expired term. Terrebonne Parish Tree Board, 2 vacancies due to resignations. Veterans Memorial District, 2 expiring terms on September 17th, 2022, 1 representing the parish president south of the Intercoastal and 1 representing Lennox Hotard Post 31. Airport Commission, 1 expiring term on October 6, 2022. Coastal Zone Management and Restoration, 2 expiring terms on October 31st, 2022. Homa Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, 5 expiring terms on December 31st, 2022. 8 announcements. Mr. Dove, Mr. Toops, you have anything?
No, sir.
Council members. Mr. Trosclair.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple of announcements I want to make. The American Legion Russell Redmond Post 272 in Montague is inviting everyone to a reacquaintance free community meal, which will consist of spaghetti, garlic bread, and salad on October 2nd, 2022, from 11:30 to 1:30. And once again, it's going to be at the Legion Home in Montague at 104 Recreation Drive. And the second announcement I have is St. Anne Church is going to hold their annual pumpkin patch starting October 1st through October 31st, and it'll be open every day, 11 to 7 a.m. So bring the kids out and let them enjoy their great pumpkin patch, because they really do a really good job. Thank you.
Mr. Carl Harding.
Yes, several months we've been actually doing Hurricane Ida recovery, and I know Chris Pulaski, he gets paid. But I want to tell everybody the times that I've actually been in attendance to these recovery program. Chris, your staff, you working with everybody else's presentation, I think you collected a lot of vital information for the recovery after the hurricane, man. And regardless of whether you get paid, I think you do more than what you're worth. You know what I mean? But I just want to say, great job, man.
All right, Mr. Gerald Michel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to let the public know that over the last 3 months, I have received over a dozen units of blood. So I want to ask the public, first of all, I'd like to thank all those who give blood. And secondly, I'd like to ask all those who are able to please consider giving blood for those who need it. It's incredibly important, and it's one of the great ways that we can help our fellow man. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Dr. Navy.
Yes, and Mr. Jeremy Shaw, we'll continue to pray for you. But at the end of the day, I'm just going to say this in comments to these individuals up here. I'm glad you did that, Mr. Carl Harding, recognizing Chris. But you four guys and girls, young lady, I believe in gender equality, by the way, have done a fantastic job, through this resilient process. I mean, we did a lot of mitigation processes, a lot of things y'all have done that was brilliant in this recovery. And I want to thank y'all for this. I'm being honest with that. And also Mr. Dove for putting an extraordinary team like you for young people together. I say young. I'm giving you some credit there. For this process. So I want to thank y'all too. We don't give y'all praises the way we should, but I like to do that. And especially out there too, I think she's gone, Mr. Artigo. Mr. Artigo is also someone I contact a lot and get a lot done. So, and her husband, so you all have a wonderful team. I really appreciate what y'all have done. I'm serious about that. Thank y'all.
Yes, and I echo with what Dr. Navy is saying about all the people who work with the parish. We have some good people from the person who's on the street, in one of the parish vehicles servicing a power line, to Mr. Toops, to Mr. Pulaski, to Mr. Ponville, who's not here today. He's probably out working somewhere. So we have some good people working for the parish, and I wouldn't have time to name all of you guys, but you up front, I love you guys. Next item, C, pursuant to Louisiana Revised Statute 42:16-17, the council may, upon 2/3 affirmative vote, convene into executive session in order to discuss the following: settlement discussions regarding Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government versus Trapp Cadillac Chevrolet Incorporated, docket number 166842D, 32nd Judicial District Court, Terrebonne Parish, Louisiana. Mr. Hebert?
Yes, this is an executive session. Persons that will be needed in attendance or who requested to be in attendance of the parish manager, Mr. Toops, Ms. Malden, Mr. Artigo, and the council, and myself and Mr. Marceau, Brian Marceau, assistant parish attorney.
We have a motion by Mr. Babin to go into executive session, seconded by Mr. Dirk Guidry. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? All right, we are in executive session. Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Domain to go back into regular order. Seconded by Mr. Trosclair. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are in regular order.
Motion to concur with administration.
We have a motion by Mr. Dirk Gidry to concur with legal's recommendation, seconded by Mr. Trosclair. Any discussion? Wait, can't discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion adjourned.
Motion to adjourn, Ms. Domingue, seconded by Mr. Trosclair. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned.